Well, good afternoon, everybody. Senator McConnell, as I think you all know, is at the Rules Committee meeting, along with Senator Blunt and our other members of that committee, discussing Senate Bill 1, which is our members are very dug in. I think it's going to be a long markup, lots of amendments offered, and obviously, if it ever makes it to the floor, I think you're going to have a united Republican opposition to a really, really bad idea. H.R. 1, the Democrats are trying to couch it in a favorable light, but it truly is a power grab. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. You can't describe what they're attempting to do here, in my view, in any other terms. If you look at the components, individual elements of this bill, it does away, bans voter ID, photo ID. I think something that Americans all across this country, no matter where you live or what community you're in, recognize that is an essential election integrity measure that you have to, when you go in to vote, to demonstrate you are who you say you are. Voter ID is just something that 31 states have had in place. Our state's had it in place for a really long time. It just makes sense. Codifying ballot harvesting. Very, very questionable, but obviously something Democrats are very supportive of, but again, something that they think gives them an advantage in elections in the future. Having the taxpayers pay for campaigns in this country. Think about that. Ted Cruz has pointed out that in the first quarter of this year, under this law, the federal government would owe him $30 million for his campaign because of the 6-to-1 match that's called for in this bill. Politicizing and turning the FEC into a partisan organization. If the Republicans were proposing that, can you imagine the outcry from Democrats if Republicans were saying that the 3-3 balance that we have on the FEC, which regulates elections in this country, were going to be flipped to give the Republicans advantage? The Democrats would be screaming. And that's exactly what they're trying to do in this bill. So those are just some of the more unsavory elements of this bill. But it's, again, part of an agenda that the Democrats have that they are trying to jam through, push through, at a time when they ought to be trying to work across party lines after an election that was very divided. You have an even Senate. You have a very narrowly divided House. And it seems to me, at least, that the mandate coming out of that, if there was one, is that the people in this country want moderation, they want balance, they want the Democrats to work with the Republicans here in Washington rather than trying to jam through really bad partisan ideas that constitute nothing more than a power grab that locks in an advantage, a political and election advantage for the Democrats well into the future. So with that, I will yield to Senator Brasso.